Hello, hello. Thank you for coming in, Butler Family Farm and Simply Jan Homestead. I appreciate you guys coming in. Let's see what you guys are saying in here. Jan is not even still here. Yeah, she probably isn't. She might be back though. I actually started 5 minutes early. Jan, I was giving you. Oh. I am doing good. I had to go run some errands. I had to water the yard. I've been trying to pull stuff out every day out of the yard because, it's Texas and it's getting hot here. But I didn't pull anything out of the yard today. I just watered and that was it. Mailed Kevin's pin out. Kevin won a pin. Yeah, I saw his name get drawn. Jerry likes to give you crap. Drive to Springfield for more materials. Yeah, you guys are working so hard. I have to just work in the house because it's too hot out there for me. But I don't have as much land to maintain as you guys do. I am the guy in the girls' chat. Yep. Well, that could be a good thing. Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer Ocean Homestead. Welcome in. Heather, Milk and Honey Heritage Farms. So I just thought I would try to get back to doing lives for this channel to just try to maintain the watch time and, everything, and not being able to get a lot of videos out, busy with other things. And so I was like, well, the one thing I can do is just do a live, come up and do a live. So girly, nah. Yeah, well, we talk about homesteady things. Sometimes that's not too girly. Hey, the girls in this group are not too girly. They're out there building things and hand hoeing the garden and putting new, I don't even know what that is, new border in on their place there. So yeah, my biggest project was just working on that bed. Now that I got the bed up, I didn't plan to use it this year. I've been lining it with different shoveling manure. Yeah. You guys are doing all kinds of stuff. I do clean out the chicken coop and use that for gardening. So we cleaned out the chicken coop one time since the garden's been established. So what we did with that chicken manure is we just actually put it into my compost pile so that when I start filling the beds, I may even put some in there now, or I might just let it sit there all the way till spring. So there's also some straw in there too that was mixed, the bedding for the chickens. So I'm actually already pulling things out. So happy to have lantana seeds. Yeah, I hope you like them. They're multiple colors. I cannot predict what colors they will be. I have no idea. But I knew that I got like a lot and then I wasn't going to need all of that. Plus, once you get however many you want established, number one, they're going to put out their own seed. I don't know how many years it takes. Number two, they're going to come back every year. So you're not going to have to replant them once you get them established. Oh, yeah, probably need to. We're probably due to clean out the coop again, too. But if I could, I'd probably almost rather wait until, well, actually, no, now would be a pretty decent time because we could put right now, whatever I'm pulling out right now, we could go ahead and start amending with the chicken manure because it'll have plenty of time to sit until I plant in the spring. So that's usually how I do it is, I usually start pulling stuff out in either late July or early August, definitely by August. And then even continue on into the cooler months. September, it'll cool down some, and then October will really cool down. I mean, it's nice out there in October. So I'll be continuing probably to work on beds and getting them amended for next year. I'll probably do that. Also moving things around, like where the cucumbers are this year. I decided I didn't like the way that climbing wall was there for cucumbers because sometimes I get back there and I can't get to them. So I decided next year I'm going to put those in a different section where I can get to both sides of the climbing wall. And then I thought what I might do over there is put like cardinal climbers or hyacinth, things I don't have to necessarily harvest anything out of. Hello, Carol. How are you? Yeah. So I'm going to try to do this. My goal is to try to do this live every Thursday at 1 o'clock. That's my goal. Now, if you see that I'm not in here, text me or call me. Like I actually did forget. And then I saw Jan shared it into a group that we're in. And that's when I saw, and it reminded me, oh yeah, I have a live today. So yeah, I didn't feel like dealing with my hair today. I just put it in a ponytail. But I was trying to go out and find some micro dwarf tomatoes because Carol and I are doing this collaboration, and I thought, well, I could offer to send some of the seeds out to Canada if I could actually get some because they're not very bulky. That way Carol wouldn't have to put the expense to do it. But I didn't want to make the offer until I found the seeds. Well, Tractor Supply's already sent their seeds back. Walmart's already sent their seeds back. And Dollar Tree wouldn't have anything like that. And the Amazon wants to charge you more than the price of seeds as shipping for those micro dwarf tomato seeds. So I can't make the offer that I would send out seeds, micro dwarf tomato seeds to Canada until I can actually get the seeds myself to be able to mail some to people. So I would love for people to join in the micro dwarf tomato collaboration that we're doing in November through March. But I have to be able to actually get the seeds. So, and I thought I could, but right now as it stands, we're just doing USA. But if I can procure the seeds, maybe I will try to include Canada. Off-Grid World wanted to do it, but she said she would just use her own seeds. So she is going to go ahead and join the collaboration. And then if we see that we'll try to maybe get a couple of prizes for the micro dwarf tomato collaboration. We'll try to get a couple of things that are for Canada. That way, if a Canada name is drawn, maybe like an Amazon prize or an Amazon gift card could go out to the person. I haven't learned how to do Amazon gift cards yet that go to Canada or wherever, but I want to learn. Hello, Scotty J Travels. Now, I probably could get my husband to do it for me. Yeah. Well, if you're just sending like, 6 to 10 little tiny tomato seeds, and you don't write anything specific on there because you don't want to alert, the post office of what you're doing. I think you could maybe get that to go through, possibly. Hello, E is God's son. Welcome in. So right now it's up in the air. I have to actually be able to get the tomato seeds to send them out, but I do want for you guys to be able to join. Hello, Kaleidoscope of Happiness. But I didn't want to make the offer to Carol until I could actually get the seeds to be able to do it. Go to your Amazon account, change the US flag to Canada. See, I've never even purchased a Amazon gift card for anyone there. I always have just gone to the store and purchased the physical Amazon gift card, the little cardboard paper they have now. So I would probably just have to leave it in my account and then just let hubby help me with it. It's probably not too hard. But when it comes to stuff like that, I'd like to watch him do it first because I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to do something that screws up like $25 or $30. Hello, Adrian. How are you? Never tried sending through Amazon, but just spent a fortune on 5 seeds through Amazon, and not all of them germinated. Yeah, see, I wanted to order some micro dwarf tomato seeds from Amazon, but it was going to charge you, it was like $5.69 for the price of the seeds for like 100 seeds. And then it was like $7.99 for the cost of the shipping. So you're paying more for the shipping than for the seeds. So that's not good. Yeah. 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 But maybe I'll try to do that for the micro dwarf tomato. Instead of actually purchasing the physical card, what I might do is just leave the money on my account. And that way, if it's a USA person, I can, learn how to do it digitally, or I can just go to the store and buy it. Or I can have hubby help me if it happens to be somebody from Canada. So I need to start trying to be conscientious of doing that, because I would never purposely try to leave Canada people out, but it's just sometimes, it's over my head as far as to how to do things. Oh, I made the comments go away by accident. So I don't have my phone with me today to make anybody a moderator or look at anything that way. I can only see the comments that are coming up because my phone was dead. So I was like, well, I'm about to did I say hi, Echo? Hi, Echo. I said, I'm about to do a live. Let me just leave this on the charger to let the battery renew while I'm doing the live. So that's the goal, is to try to do a live once a week on Thursday at 1:00. That's because I have a live on Wednesday, Healthy Goals Wednesday. And then I have a live on Friday Night Hideout. And so I thought, well, just put one right in the middle. And then you remember, hey, you go live Wednesday through Thursday. And that way, if I need to go to my mom's house, I'll just have to go like Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. But that's the goal. But we do already have one Canada person that's joining because she already has her own seeds. And it's very possible that people that have hydroponics, it's very possible they could already have their own micro dwarf tomato seeds. So, like Mike's cat, a garden. Well, he lives in the US, but he's got his own micro dwarf tomato seeds. So, but micro dwarf tomato seeds are something I'm just now getting into. I planted some that didn't come up for me this year, but I think I'm going to have a better germination rate in the hydroponic machine, hopefully. So I have some orange hat tomatoes, and then Adrian sent me some. So I know right now I have 2 varieties. I have orange hat micro dwarf tomatoes and the ones that Adrian sent me. So I have 2 kinds right now. And I'm going to look in my seed container, and I may still have some from the ones Carol sent me previously. So I was thinking, since tomatoes don't necessarily need germination from bees and stuff like that, technically you could grow like 6 different kinds of tomatoes all at one time, right? Because you don't have to worry about the bees pollinating them. So I bet Joe still has some. Oh, yeah, he probably does. He'd probably think I was a weirdo. Hey, Joe, you got any micro dwarf tomato seeds left? He'd probably send me some gladly. Trying to figure out what Jennifer's talking about here. Motorcycles and beans. I have no idea. That went right over my head too. Jan can't chat. Jan can't chat. Maybe it's a personal joke going between Jennifer and Jan. That's what I'm guessing. So I started working on my grocery list for next payday, because hubby gets paid every 2 weeks. So I do a grocery list, and I try to start thinking of the things I might want to eat, especially following the healthy goals. So I did really good today, and I did good yesterday. So I've been going kind of starting again. Every time I mess up, I have to start again. So tonight I'm going to have spaghetti on the Bonza pasta noodles. They're actually made with chickpeas, and that's what I'm going to have tonight. So I'm going to have it, spaghetti on the Bonza pasta. That's what I'm going to have for tonight. Thank you for sharing out, Echo. I appreciate it. Never give up. I know you just got to keep falling off, and you keep having to climb back on that. Jen posted she's washing dishcloths and can't chat. Oh, I didn't see that. So I was going to spill the secret project beans in the chat, and she won't know. Oh, well. Oh, is that a secret project? Was I not supposed to say something? Not that I described it that well, but that may be something she's videoing for a thing. Maybe I wasn't supposed to spill the beans on that in front of everybody. I like that chickpea pasta. Well, this is the thing with the chickpea pasta. I like it as long as it's covered with the sauce, but by itself, not so great. But once you cook, you got to cook it perfect to the instruction. If it says to cook it 10 minutes, do not cook it 11 minutes or 12 minutes or 13 or 15 minutes. Cook it exactly how long it says and no longer. Otherwise, it will turn into a mushy, mushy mess. Ugh. But anyway, if you cook it right, perfectly, yes, it is a secret. I'm sorry. Well, hopefully, no, but y'all didn't hear that. Just, erase that. Maybe people didn't hear what I was talking about. They probably just weren't even, Go watch Jan's video about her secret project that I'm not going to talk about anymore, but I didn't know it was a secret. I have to know something is a secret. There's a few things you're not supposed to talk about. Like when people go to the hospital or have tests done, a lot of times they don't want that to be public information unless you've had permission or they've already said it to their community. Then it's okay to talk about. But until they've spoken it to their actual community, then I try not to talk about that stuff. Because some people are very private about medical things. I'm spilling everything. Her secret motorcycle building. Wow. Yeah. Jan's building a motorcycle. That's her secret project. Yep. Oh, yeah. Are you talking about on the pasta thing? Yeah, if you cook it too long, it has the consistency of pasta pretty well until you overcook it, and then it turns mushy. So if you cook it just perfectly, exactly, get the water to boiling and cook it exactly the amount of time it says, it's not too bad. Have you guys ever tried that Bonza pasta? Anybody? Oh, I got my wrong logo on here. That's my other logo. Oh my gosh, my foot fell asleep. I must have been sitting on it. I do that sometimes. I sit on it. I don't even know I'm doing it. Okay, so this is what the box looks like for the Bonza pasta. So it's made with chickpeas, and it's got 50% more protein. So usually, and this will make you feel more full than pasta because of the protein in it, right? And of course, it's healthier for you because it's made out of chickpeas. But you got to cook it just perfect. It says on here to cook it for 9 to 11 minutes. I think I'd stay on the 9 minutes and cook it almost al dente to where it keeps the consistency properly. My advice. So Tammy Tammy just bought some of this. I don't know if she bought it today or a different day, but Tammy's having this for dinner tonight. I'm spilling the beans. Tammy was talking about having this for dinner tonight. I said, oh, I'm going to have some of that for dinner tonight. So I had to go to Walmart anyway. So I went ahead and picked up some of this pasta. So that's a Healthy Goals Wednesday. Oh, and Heather, I did find a product I could use for the Healthy Goals Wednesday for not this next one, but the one after that. The one that was your idea. So we actually have our next 2 themes picked out for Healthy Goals Wednesday. She had an idea and I had an idea. Does it taste like pasta? Well, if you put spaghetti sauce and hamburger meat on top of it and put a little cheese or Parmesan cheese or something, it tastes just like spaghetti. You know, like you're just having spaghetti or goulash or whatever. But don't eat it by itself. Not good by itself. But with meat sauce on top of it, it's perfectly fine. Just don't eat it. Don't cook it and eat it by itself and think it's going to be gourmet, because it's only good covered in meat sauce. Yeah, that's just the honest to God truth. However, it is quite bearable with the spaghetti sauce on it. So if you're trying to look into it, it's not a very big box. There's only 8 ounces. But how I make the 8 ounces last longer is I measure it and I go ahead and I cook a portion of regular spaghetti for my husband. And then I cook only, I think I can't even eat a whole cup of it. I think I can only eat 3/4 of a cup. If I'm remembering it right, I think I can only eat 3/4 of a cup. 1 cup is actually too much. So I'm going to say it's 3/4 of a cup. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cook 3/4 of a cup. And if that's too much, I'll know to go down to 1/2 a cup. That way I'm only cooking a portion for myself. And that way it'll make, it camouflages it. Yes, you got it, Heather. The meat sauce camouflages it. Hubby can totally handle it and eat. He will eat it. However, it will make it go further if I serve myself the Banza pasta and serve him regular pasta. Especially since my mom goes to these food banks and gives us regular spaghetti all the time. So that's a great way to continue to use the spaghetti she gives us. But also, I'll have the healthy stuff and he'll have the other, because he's, he works all day, so he doesn't need to lose weight, in my opinion. He might differ with my opinion, but my opinion is he doesn't need to lose weight. Yeah. How are you guys doing over there at the Butler Family Farm? Next time I'll get to see you guys will be Pinecone Fest. Yep. Pinecone Fest. I actually still have more garlic to harvest. Which I've only pulled like about 4 this week, but I was kind of waiting for that last section to for the Tramoncino squash to continue first. So I think I'm just going to leave it until the Tramoncino squash plant is done, because it's technically right now it's protecting the Tramoncino squash because it has garlic in it. I know, me too. Be back at work then. Do you plan on coming back to the Ozark meetup, Adrian? Or possibly even trying to come to the Lone Star meetup? It looks like the cabins over there at the Lone Star meetup are about the same situation as the other one, because they also do not have bathrooms. However, if you had the map, you could technically pick the cabin that is the closest to the bathroom. And that's what we usually do for Pinecone Fest. Is we just pick whatever spot's closest to the bathroom. That way, as long as it's daytime, we run back and forth. And then when it becomes nighttime, then I use the camper. But we got a better camper now. So as long as you're not working, cool. Tramontino squash is getting a haircut tonight. Yeah, Tramontino squash is my last one, and I'm actually this time, instead of picking it early and small, I'm going to let it get big and actually turn the golden color on the vine. I'm going to let this one just grow and grow and grow and just see how big it'll get. I want to test to see how far it'll go. So we'll see what happens. Since it feels like it may be my last one, I decided to savor it and let it grow as long as possible. I've already harvested one pumpkin. I have 2 more on the vine and a bunch of tiny ones, but I can successfully say I will have at least 3 pumpkins this year. So I looked it up on Google yesterday and I said, will a pumpkin last longer inside your house or outside your house after you pick it? And it said it will last longer outside. So I have one small pumpkin on my front porch. So my neighbors probably think I'm crazy. But it said it would last longer there. So I figured I'd just leave it out there. And then when I start putting out fall videos, I'll bring it in and put it on the counter as a little decoration. And by then, maybe it'll have some friends because there's 2 other pumpkins on the vine right now that are decent size. One of my pumpkins actually is a giant variety, but I don't know that it'll necessarily be a giant. Yeah, I haven't been doing that on the Tramontino squash, but I decided to do it this time because the other one, I left it on the counter a couple of days and it started kind of rotting on the ends. So I decided I was going to change my method. However, on the butternut squash, I can keep it for months and no problem with rotting or getting soft. So I thought they're both winter squash, but for some reason maybe once you get that goldenness to it, maybe then it becomes not so sensitive. But what the method that works for butternut squash does not also work for Tramontino squash, even though they do have a similar flavor. You think the flavor will be better? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. But to me, the flavor was pretty much the same as butternut squash. Okra cook over at Heather's house in October. I sent you some Big Max seed. They get like 200 pounds. Adrian, are you talking about okra? Oh, pumpkin. Yes. Yeah, I did plant some pumpkin. However, you have to give it a ton of water for it to get that big, right? You have to just have a lot of, and since I'm on city water, not well water, I don't want to just sit there and, waste a bunch of water on it. So I've actually already started pulling things out. I've already pulled out the zucchini. I've already pulled out the butternut squash. I've already pulled out the cucumbers. I've already started cutting down the 4 o'clocks. I already started deadheading the zinnias. And I stopped watering the sunflowers. That's done. So the garden tours are going to get smaller and smaller. I do want to make a video showing. Me putting together a new bed from the beginning to the end. So I've been gathering the materials, and now I just would need to schedule it like in the morning when it's not too hot. And where I've put the bed, the video is probably going to be on my back because it's going to be right up next to a fence. What I'm going to use that bed for is for things I want to grow in partial shade. So it'll be like your spinach, your lettuce. There was some other things you could grow in partial shade. So I think I'm going to put that bed in the little corner back there. and maybe even put a climbing wall. And I might try to grow my Malabar spinach there in that partial shade and see how well it does over there. So maybe I'll see if hubby can move one of the climbing walls over there. And anyway, I'm going to do more. Every year I try to move things around. Of course, I keep moving my squash around. I have had squash bugs this year. However, admittingly, I was pretty much tired of squash by the time it got to that point, except for the butternut squash, which I do still have 4 or 5 of those left, but they last a lot longer. Yeah, 200 pounds of pumpkin. Well, I wouldn't be eating it. I'd be just sitting on the front porch. Start a garlic farm. You should. Man, so one of the garlics, this is the first one I've seen like this. One of the garlic heads I harvested this year, or yesterday, the whole head was a clove. It didn't separate in any way. And so the whole head was just like a ball. The whole thing was a clove. So I just put the whole thing in there. I think I have enough of garlic that it will last me a whole year until next year. I did save back seed for myself and for my brother, because I asked my brother if he would be interested in planting garlic, and he said yes. And so I did offer my brother some garlic. I told him to spread it out because it's a good deterrent to some of these, do little clumps of stuff. They've been really successful at keeping the squash bugs off of the Tramonzino squash. So I didn't get any planted in the bed where I had my zucchini this year, either of my zucchini beds. So I'm guessing kind of spreading out the garlic around whatever you're doing kind of would keep it basically protected. So far so good. No vine borers this year so far. There's always time. However, I'm already pulling stuff out. So I do still have Roma paste tomatoes growing. There's a bunch of green ones on there. I harvested one that was red. It was actually ripened on the vine, and we made a salad with that one that night because I didn't want to take a chance of it going bad on me. So we had a salad that night with that tomato. I am considering, I've seen a lot of crickets by my tomatoes. I've actually considered putting about 6 in a paper sack and letting them ripen inside of a cabinet. I've actually considered that. Or you could even do it at a smaller version, like do 2 or 3 at a time, and that way you don't got a bunch ripe at one time. But I'm concerned maybe the crickets. Do crickets attack tomatoes? Because there was some crickets on that tomato area. I'm just saying. You could grow your garlic in shapes with flowers between. Oh, that would be neat. Yeah, the garlic looks really pretty when it's green. But once it turns that brown color, it looks like something died in the garden. However, it's not dead. It's still good. And that's, I guess that's a pretty good sign that it's ready to be picked. But Jan said it'll literally last probably 3 months in the ground like that before it'll actually start to go bad. And unless you have a lot of rain sitting in the soil, that could actually possibly rot your garlic. My guess. I don't know. That could be a fun collab. Make a design with your garden. Yeah, that's a good deal. So the bed that hubby and I built together for the building collab, that bed is going to be a herb bed because it's not real deep. It is in full shade, okay, but it's only like 7 inches. So I thought what I might do is grow herbs, and then I could maybe put some tall flowers down the middle. and then put the herbs all around it. So I'm going to put some taller flowers like zinnias or 4 o'clocks in the middle. And then I'll have to see how deep the roots go on both of those flowers to decide. But I'm going to put a little small row of flowers in the middle, and I'm going to put herbs all the way around it. So I am kind of designing. I'm kind of designing it. And I actually found some purple basil that was going to seed. And so I actually just snipped it off and put it into that bed. And I thought, well, maybe it'll be seed next year that'll come up. Maybe it won't be. But I was snipping off the flower with the seed, hoping it might come back next year. I pulled 6 or 7 hornworms off the romas. Oh no! I had to pull it out. Oh no. Well, basically right now, the major crops right now, since I've started pulling things out, are Roma tomatoes. There's also some beefsteak tomatoes over there. Some pumpkins and some ground cherries. Some of the 4 o'clocks are still going, and the flowers that Carol gave me, there's still some zinnias that are going. I don't want every single solitary flower pulled out because I still need pollination for my pumpkins, because I already know right now I'm getting 3 no matter what, but I would love to get like 10. That would be awesome. I remember one year I grew those little small pumpkins, the little ones, and I had so many of those. I gave them to all my family members. They even grew through the fence to the neighbor's yard, and I told them, I said, well, whatever grows there over on your side, you just keep those for your kids. So they did. We need flowers for fall for the bees. Yeah. I did replant zinnias and 4 o'clocks and some marigolds. So I did actually replant 3 flowers to replenish. I thought, well, while I'm out there amending soil, there are some things that are still growing that need pollination. While I'm out there, and I'm only deadheading the zinnias that are dead. If they're still alive, they still look pretty, they're nice, I'm leaving those for the bees until hopefully I get some more up. I already have zinnias, a fresh batch of zinnias coming up, a small batch in the planter. So hopefully those will come up and be blooming soon, and I'll have some fresh flowers for we so have many moths this year. Yeah, I've had squash bugs, and according to Heather, what Heather said, I believe the other one that's on the squash is a stink bug, possibly. Those are really the 2 major bugs I've had this year. Earlier in the year, I had some of those fungus gnats, but they went away at some specific time. Rely on the fall food? Yeah. Well, even if my neighbor has a garden, I don't mind having some bees and things, to even pollinate, their stuff over there. There's someone growing something somewhere around here. Let some stuff go to seed for the bees. Yeah. Clover is good. Yeah. I actually have some clover in a pot, I think. I've actually started dumping out the pots. Hello, Lori's World. Some of the pots that the stuff didn't grow successfully, or maybe it's already grown and kind of played out, I'm basically turning those over into the new bed that I'm trying to establish to get more dirt in there, get some diversity of different dirt in there. And of course, next year when I start over, I'll put a fresh layer of soil on top. I've been working on compost, building my own soil, been trying to build my own soil and work on learning how to build my own soil. I kind of up my game every year and add more things that I didn't add before. I have a barrel. I have a compost bin that we use. And then I have an area of the yard where we put like leaves, and then hubby runs over the leaves with the tractor to kind of break it down. And then I actually laid a layer of cardboard and then put the leaves on top. I've thrown eggshells out there. I've thrown manure out there. I've thrown coffee grounds out there. Um, different things. So I'm actually building that. So next year when I go to set up my beds, I'll have my bucket. I'll sit down and dig out however much I need, go pour that into the pot or the bed that I'm working on. And I'm hoping to eventually be 100% my own soil. But as of this year, I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it. I also take sticks that are in the yard. It'll be like long sticks, and if they're breakable, I'll break them into smaller pieces and let them also die right there. Because if you look in Miracle-Gro, there's actually little pieces of sticks in there. And remember, when hubby runs it over with the lawnmower, he's also breaking up the sticks that are in there. And like if I see a piece of bark fall off the tree, I'll actually walk by and put the pieces of bark in there too. Hi, Carol, the reluctant bee granny. How are you? Yeah, it takes some time. Yeah, it does. And I use it up every year. It's not like I'm letting that sit there for years and years. I'm building it. I started building it in summer. This is the weirdest thing. So everybody gets their fall leaves in the fall, right? Okay. Well, we get fall twice. When we get our serious wind here in Texas, we get falling leaves in May. And then we also turn around and get them in the fall. So we actually get fall twice. So we get leaves twice a year. So back in May, when all the trees fell off because of the extreme wind, because we had just weeks and weeks and months of extreme wind, and I would just rake the leaves up into my compost pile, and then he would run it over. And of course, it starts out looking big, and then it gets smaller because, he breaks it down. And I'll also water it too. I water it to kind of get the juices flowing to break everything down. I don't know how to explain all this stuff. I know it does stuff. I just don't know how to intelligently explain it. I understand things, but I can't explain things well. But anyway, so I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm still learning about composting and growing your own soil. And so on the herb bed, I'm basically like I said, I started pulling out some of the 4 o'clocks. Also, I was trying to clear the path there so I could start walking in the backyard again, like in the morning when it's cool and not too hot. So the 4 o'clocks were kind of blocking the path because I had like a walking path in the backyard. So I actually started cutting some of the limbs that were hanging over my hyssop. And then I started cutting some of the limbs that were in the way of my walking. And so I'll cut the part that has the seed. I'll take the seeds out that I can see. And then, there's the green ones that aren't open yet that may or may not actually end up making a seed. And I've been putting those in an area where I'm comfortable with those growing either this year or next year, right? So I'm going to have a mix of zinnia and 4 o'clocks in this one bed right there. So I'm actually cutting the seed part off down into there. So that will and then I'll be composting on top of that. So next year, all those flowers will come up in there. Yeah, heats up and is broken down. Yeah. So treat it like a lasagna layer. And then I also do composting in place where I'm I'm building up the bed. I'm building up the herb bed. I've got like a layer of cardboard on the bottom. It still has a lot of holes in between, where water can get out and stuff. So I'm doing the cardboard, but it still has plenty of holes, and I'm breaking up sticks, and I'm pulling out spent plants. Now, nothing where it's had bug activity, just where it's naturally died on its own, or even the ends of the garlic, the end that you don't need. Like say you've already did your scape and you've already done your head, you've got that little in-between piece, or even the little scraps from when you're peeling the garlic, adding all that stuff in there. And then I go through there, when I put my eggshells, I put my coffee grounds with the filter in there. Occasionally I'll go in and shred paper. I use that in there. So, so that garlic bed will have a diversity. I've even pulled weeds that I inspect it, make sure it doesn't have seeds because I don't want the weeds growing in there. But they're talking about plant diversity even when you're pulling up spent plants. If you pull up spent plants of different kinds of plants and not all the same thing, you're giving your soil some diversity, and that's supposed to help it. I've just been listening to things. But yeah, I do a lot of lasagna. I do a lot of compost in place where you let it break down in the bed. And that's why if you see the level on some of my beds is low, it's because I'm building the layers. And if I start with it all the way full, I won't have room to keep amending it, right? I'll have to dig some out to be able to amend it. But the way I'm doing it is I start low and I keep building. And eventually it'll be up here and I'll have to pull some out and amend it. But at this point, I start low so I have room to continue to amend it. So as I pull out of the beds, all of them will get eggshells and coffee grounds and shredded paper and broke up sticks and maybe some crushed up leaves, some cow manure. I mean, not cow manure, chicken manure, all that stuff. They'll get that. They'll get all that. So what do you guys got going in the garden? Like, what did well in the garden this year for you? Answer in the chat. Like, what was your best 3 crops in the garden? Now, my best 3 crops in the garden this year would be bell peppers. I'm having so much trouble seeing that. It's so tiny. Bell peppers. And, of course, ground cherries. They always seem to do really well for me. And what else did well? Cucumbers did really well. Pumpkins, I've gotten one so far, and I've only got 1 tomato, so I wouldn't call myself exactly a success on those yet. But like I said, I will end up with at least 3 pumpkins this year. So put in the chat your top 3 plants that are doing well for you this year. Chicken feathers, yep. If chicken feathers are around, I'll throw those in there too, because there's got to be some nutrients in that too, because anything that comes from the earth goes back into the earth and puts nutrients. Even, I hate to say, even a decomposing animal body. Great raspberry and strawberry. The Trombocino squash is doing well. I don't know if you would consider it well, but this is my 5th Trombocino squash. My sorghum is looking really well. You cannot harvest that until like September, October. I looked at it on Google. Earworm stuff hasn't produced yet. There's still plenty of time. Gardening is starting to flower. It's so funny how I'm already pulling things out and you guys are, y'all are in the phase that I was in before. Need that when we process our meat birds. Feather meal from the feathers? Or is that actually a thing? Feather meal. Her peppers did well. Her cucumbers did well. Her tomatoes and her green beans. Well, actually my kidney beans did really well too. I could have planted and had another harvest of them, but I had determined that I wanted to plant my elderberry where the kidney beans were. And kidney beans are supposed to repair your soil with nitrogen, I believe. So basically, when I cut the kidney beans out, I cut them down where the root would still be under the ground and leave those nutrients in there. And I just took out the tops. And then I took the tops, I pulled off the kidney beans, harvested. And then I took the spent plant and threw it in I forget where I put it in, but I use the spent plants as long as it's not had any bug activity. I use the spent plants to revive for next year. Watermelon plants, me and watermelon. Yeah, watermelon's hard. I do have a melon, some other kind of melon, and a French melon, and a cantaloupe. But the cantaloupe doesn't seem to be doing too well, so I don't know. And then that French melon over there seems to be getting some bug activity, so I don't know. I don't think it's gonna turn out. I don't think it's gonna work. Yes, kidney beans. So I did actually harvest some of my own kidney bean seeds this year. So I might be able to tell the vineyard chicks that I don't need seed for next year. So I've already harvested the seed and put the seed up. So I actually have the seed for that. That's probably the only thing I'm going to save the seed on. I don't really like saving tomato seeds. That's just too gooey. It's just too big of a process. It's too involved for me. Too involved. And I get so many tomatoes. People are always sending me tomatoes. I don't even really have a need to be saving tomatoes. And the vineyard chicks are going to choose another type of tomato next year. So, and even if they didn't have another type of tomato, I have like 20 varieties of tomatoes already. So, except for micro dwarf tomatoes. I don't have any of those. A thing learned from Garden Club I go is to get a homegrown plant from someone, rinse all and the roots and dump that because it will harbor disease and pests. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, see, I just look at the plant. I decide if the plant is going to be composted back into everything, if it's had bug activity. The kidney beans had no bug activity, so I went ahead and put them into other things to compost and make good soil for next year. Then the 4 o'clocks had no bug activity, so as I'm cutting those out, I'm composting those into the old squash bed and into the new herb bed. But I inspect the plant. If it looks like it's had any bug activity, I haven't had, like the squash, but where the squash bugs were, those plants got thrown in the dumpster and not used in the yard because according to what Heather said, not only do squash bugs kill your plant, they also spread disease. So when your plant has had bug activity, you have to pull it out. And literally, don't pull it and put it somewhere in your yard. Okay? You need to pull it out and put it in the trash to go bye-bye. Because it's just going to cause you more problems. So when I pulled out all the squash bag, and then I even treated the bed. After I pulled the plants out and put them in the dumpster and dragged the dumpster to the front yard for it to go out with the garbage pickup. Yeah. Like if you're bringing a plant home from someone else's house, the soil and get rid of the soil. Oh, I don't, not very often do I get plants from other people, but like at a meetup. But I decided, hello, Mary, blessed through connection. So I decided this year I was going to take the elderberry and I was going to leave it in soil and let it root. I said, no, we're going to change this method so we can hopefully succeed this year. So I decided what I was going to do is put my elderberry into red Solo cups because that's what was available. And I put it in water. And when I came back, I set it in the window. And once it got actual roots, my own roots, because it didn't have any roots, it was just a cutting. I grew my own roots and then put it in the ground. So in that case, technically, when you're getting a cutting, it's not coming with a root. So But now I know successfully how to do a cutting is when you get the cutting, put it in water, leave it in your window. Once it grows its own roots, then put it in the ground. Don't try to grow the roots straight in the ground. I feel like you have more success if you get your roots in the water inside and then take it outside to plant. And most of the time when you're getting cuttings, you're getting it in like spring or summer. Yeah. So I did not manage to get my comfrey going. It's always something, right? But I did manage to get my elderberry. The elderberry plant looks very good, and it seems to be taking very well. Actually, the greenery on the elderberry plant never died. The greenery has stayed alive on the elderberry. So I think that shows a good sign that it might be successful. We'll see. We'll see. When do you actually, now once you got your elderberry going, when do you actually stop watering it? Like when it gets cold outside, do you stop watering it, or do you need to go out there occasionally and still water it? Hello, the bud files. But it's, it's about that size. It seems to be doing fine. Like I said, the greenery never died. It seems to be doing very well. So I'm excited about that. Be nice. I'll be able to talk about the elderberry like everybody else and learn the rules. Well, I already heard that you're not supposed to eat the elderberries off the vine. They have to be cured or something first. So that's good to know because I will be totally trying to pick that and eat it. I do that with my ground cherries. Pull the little hole off, and if it looks yellow enough, I'll go ahead and eat it. Now, if I pull it out and it looks green and I don't want to eat it, I chew it in half and then I throw it back down into the bed to reseed for next year. I brought it open so the seeds, has access. I don't know. I don't know why I do that. I just do that. Cooked. Yeah, you got to cook it. We'll see. I'll ask y'all next year. I'll have plenty of questions next year for y'all on the elderberry. Chickens can eat elderberries. Oh, they can eat elderberries not cooked, or they need to be cooked for them too? Don't water it in the winter like the garlic. So you water the garlic until it becomes winter and cold, and then you stop watering the garlic. That's how I did last year, and it seemed to have done fine. So here I go. I'll be doing the garlic again this year. I don't know if I'll have as many as last year. We'll see. I'm going to count them up. My brother doesn't want that many, so I'm going to give him just a few, and then I'm going to keep the rest and plant them. But I'm going to spread them throughout the yard so that where I need to determine where I'm going to put my zucchini next year, and I need to kind of surround it with some garlic, a pretty good amount of surrounding of garlic. So, and unfortunately, I feel like I'm going to need some garlic out there in the wild garden because there's been some bug activity out there. But it has gone wild and the weeds have overtaken it. So the only way I'm going to be able to get any garlic in over there is to actually plow it down. But that would be way into fall because, I have to continue. As long as the pumpkin plants are still growing, I don't want to plow into the wild garden. But one thing about the wild garden you might not know is that in the wild garden, there have been chickens buried in there. It's like the chicken graveyard. Hubby, like say if one dies today or whatever, he'll say, well, what area of the garden do you have available right now for me to plant this? And he'll put a piece of cardboard and some bricks on top of it so other animals don't dig into it, and it'll just decompose there. And then when it becomes time to plant again, I'll pull the cardboard off and maybe throw some more soil, other things on top, and then I'll plant whatever I'm going to plant. So there actually are. However, the bad thing is when you go digging around in the garden, you find bones, and you're like, ooh, yeah, was that Tweety or maybe Ruby? Which chicken? Ah, but anyway. But I've already been exposed to it because there was one of the chickens was planted in the ground cherry bed at one time. And that maybe that's why the ground cherries do so good over there. It's got little animal decomposition going on. So, but we have to cover it with cardboard. So, and by the way, Dawson did not come back. Dawson is officially gone wherever he is. I'm thinking he either got ran over or got into a yard and got attacked by a dog. Those are my two things. I don't think he was taken in by someone because he's not overly friendly. So I don't see someone taking him in going, oh, he's so sweet. No, he's an ornery little thing. So that's my opinion, though. Bone meal, feather meal. I've done bone meal. I've never done feather meal all at once. Oh, you're saying it's natural bone meal and feather meal. Yes, I get it. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. So that does work. I had to get over the fact of finding the chicken bones in there, but after that, I'm good. But it has to be an area that is already, I think even the tomato over there where the tomato garden is, I think there's been one in there too. So, that's the thing. And usually summer seems to be when you lose it, which is why I check on them so much in the summer to make sure they got water, because that's the thing. They're not going to die they're going to die eventually without food, but really the most important thing is to keep their water going. And we also have them under a shade tree. He found a nice grandma who feeds extra treats. Yeah, maybe. This girl doesn't have a green thumb. I do not have a green thumb. No, I feel like I do. I have a crochet thumb. Yeah, you probably do have a crochet thumb. You could probably crochet most anything. Yeah, I've learned. YouTube has made me smarter. I learn from other people. I ask questions and I learn things, and I try to improve every year. So whatever problem I had in the garden this year, I try to research during the fall and winter and fix that problem for next year. So hopefully I don't have that problem again. So every year I have a problem I'm trying to fix, and I research and try to fix that. I'll also somewhere in there make a video sharing what I learned with other people. So hopefully my fixing a problem can help them with the problem as well. So I'm fixing it for myself, but I'm also teaching it back to others so they can learn. So this year I grow blankets. Yeah. Oh, do you make blankets? I don't know if I've seen your blankets. I've seen your oh my goodness. Why do not your soap koozies. Yeah, I've seen your soap koozies. Yeah, can't have a garden. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually have a friend in here. Her name is Carol, and she actually grows on a balcony. And then she also does some growing indoors, but she doesn't have a hydroponic machine. She grows in water bottles and different mason jars and different containers. Don't ask me how she pulls it off, but somehow she does. Basil in the kitchen, maybe? Yeah. I'm going to try whatever tomato seed I have the most of this year. I'm going to try like 2 of them in the kitchen window. Now, I'm not going to expect to succeed. I'm going to think, well, maybe this will work, maybe this won't work. It'll be kind of an experiment, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to try to grow the micro dwarf tomatoes in the hydroponic machine. Then I'm going to grow them in the soil under a grow light, and then I'm going to try some in the kitchen window with just sunlight. So we're going to see what happens. Little Treasures by Nancy, welcome in. All right, I can't believe it, guys. I did a whole hour. So I'm going to try to do this every Thursday at 1 o'clock. Just come on and talk about some different things. If you guys have anything you want to talk about, like Mary, if you want to come up and talk about your blessing through connection lives that you're doing, you want to come up and promote that, that would be really awesome. I wouldn't mind having you as a guest to talk about that. Or anybody else who has a collaboration they would like to pump, if you'll email me or text me and let me know what day you might be available, we might could set that up just to have somebody to come up and talk to. So it's not going to ever be any specific subject. We're just going to talk about random things. Unless we have a guest, then they'll have a specific subject we'll talk about. So I have a 3-year-old tomato plant in the house. Ooh, yeah. I got to say, that's one thing I don't love is having to keep plants indoors in the winter. Yeah, that's not my favorite thing. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, I've been trying to tell people about Blessing Through Connection is during a community growing, connecting with different people live. She's even connecting channels with non-channels, with like supporters, and getting all those people together. And I've actually had one of your people from your channel that's a non-channel, just a supporter, come over to my channel and comment on my video and become my friend on the. So that's really cool because we assume they don't want to subscribe and be our friend and follow us, if they don't have a channel. But the truth is, some of them do. Some of them may come over and like your personality. They may like the projects you're working on, and they may want to join your community. So I think that's a really good idea to try to join non-channels together. Yeah. Yeah, I don't do well with indoor plants either. But hydroponics is kind of giving you some fertilizer. I'm going to call it fertilizer, but I'm sure that's not the right term. But it's the little bottles of growth stuff that you put in there. So I think I'm going to be successful with growing plants in hydroponics because, I don't think it's that hard, but I'm not sure. But I think my very first growing for hydroponics, I believe, now that I've got my distilled water, I believe I'm going to start my first hydroponic machine this weekend when hubby's here to help me with everything, just to make sure I get all the details right. Or I might even get in there and do it one day, maybe tomorrow or something, but maybe even Saturday. Saturday, he's going to be at work. Maybe I could just read over those directions again, fill the water up where it needs to be, and go ahead and start some plants. So I'm going to do that. Blessed to crochet at 7. Oh, okay. You have a live at 7 p.m., Mary? When's your next Blessing Through Connection? I'm running growing strawberries on one channel and growing cherries on the other channel. Oh, okay. I get what you're doing now. I get what you're talking about. Yeah. One thing you could do, Mary, if you were interested in growing, you could buy one of those hydroponic machines and grow some lettuce and tomatoes and herbs indoors if you're interested. That's a possibility. I've been watching people do hydroponics for a few years now. I think the very first person I heard or I remember talking about it was Lisa from Yogi Hollow Farm. And then somewhere along the way, I started watching Mike's Chaotic Gardening, even Robin with Garden State So-and-so, growing all these things in hydroponics. I'm like, I totally want to try this. And then a lot of the people in Survival Seeds would start their things in hydroponics and then transfer them outside. Don't know how successful I'll be with that. But all during the fall and winter, I'm going to try to grow everything I need for salads for myself. And then I picked my top 3 herbs that I want to grow. Things that I feel like I could use all winter that I'm going to grow in there. And then, of course, I got the Macro Dwarf Tomato collaboration going on this fall and winter. So I'll be growing quite a few different kinds of tomatoes. And I'm sure we'll have no problem eating those up. But if we do, we can always, process some in the freezer or can some or sun dry some in the dehydrator or whatever. So not a problem. I feel like I can probably keep up with those, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to go ahead and end for today. I will be back next Thursday at 1 o'clock. May have a guest on with me, and it might be me just talking about whatever's going on at the time. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Tomorrow on Gail Southern Living, I'm going to have Heather with Milk and Honey Heritage Farms as a guest. It's going to be on the Get to Know Them with Gail series that I used to do a long time ago. Decided to revive that series and do it for a little while longer. I kind of got tired of it after a while, but I haven't done it in a few years. And so now I'm like, I want to do that again. So I'm going to start back up for a while. We'll see how long it lasts. So if you want to come up and be interviewed by me on Gail Southern Living, my bigger channel, I'd be glad to have you as a guest. Send me an email and I'll get you set up for that. It doesn't matter really what your genre is. I'll interview anyone. And we'll put up your link during that time. So, all right, guys, you can have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Hope you get lots of things done. And if you're some of those busy friends of mine, take a rest, have a bubble bath, drink a glass of tea. You guys are stressing me out with all your stuff you're doing. I'm like, you're making me tired just talking about all the stuff you're doing. Anyway, I try to get my couple of hours of gardening work done in the morning while I'm watering. So, because it gets too hot here in Texas. And then I try to stay out of it because we've had such a bad mosquito year that I just don't even want to spend any time out there. But you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. If you don't come in tomorrow evening, I will be live on Gail Southern Living at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, interviewing Heather with Milk and Honey Heritage Farms. You guys have a great day. Bye, everybody.